Hey everyone, welcome back to the video series about the Sig Sauer P6. Today we're going to go ahead and take all those parts that we tore down last time. We're going to put them back together so you have a fully functioning, ready to go pistol. We'll get right into it, get you guys back up and running. To begin with our frame reinstall, we want to start with the hammer. You'll notice a small pin that goes across the hammer. You'll also notice a small spring that's still inside of our frame. We want to take the hammer in and leave it down in the down position and then feel till we hook that spring on that pin, and you should feel a little spring tension underneath that. Once you get that, pin that hammer in place and you should feel a little spring tension going this way as well. Next up, we need to work with our sear. There's 4 parts to this step. We have the sear spring, the retaining pin, and the sear safety lever. These are all going to go in the same position, in the same place, so only one place to pay attention to, and that's right here, just above where we just pinned our hammer in place. There's a hole. Next up is the sear. The hook goes backwards towards the hammer. And pin it. We need that sear spring in there. Move the pin over, making room for it to slide in place. Next step is to actually get that safety lever in. And we want to pay attention to this bend. That bend is going to correspond with this groove here. Slide that over. And pin it in place. Now that we have our hammer taken care of and our sear taken care of, we're going to need to just start going through all the parts. There's quite a bit of parts in front of us, so we'll do this one at a time. One thing you want to remember is that before you put in your trigger and the slide that goes through this open area, we're going to want to go ahead and put in our hammer release switch. Because there's this piece here that you have to actually put through that opening, and it gets to be very hard if you do that after you've installed your trigger. Holding it in place with my finger, I'm going to flip it over and attach my release, and then go ahead and keep it in place with its spring. For our trigger, We're going to need two parts, this slide and this trigger, nice and easy, and they're just going to go together like this. When they go into the frame, they're going to go in like this. Okay. To get them into the frame, we need to drop our trigger into its slot, at the same time kind of bending this down and into its slot, and making sure they're still connected. We're just going to work it until we can get this tab to come up over. And it takes a little force here. Not too much. It should kind of do it for you. It wants to go where it needs to go. There we go. And that is fully seated. You want to make sure that it goes nice and far back like this. And then we'll go ahead and pin the trigger in place. One thing to remember with this pin, there is a flat head slot on one side and it's smooth on the other. This will matter in the final steps, but you want to remember to put that slot on the side of all your fire controls. And there you go. One thing while we're on this step 2, we can go ahead and push that through partially, and we'll go ahead and also put our slide release in place. The next step is to put the trigger spring on. The trigger spring simply goes in, clips in place in the frame, sits down in there, and you just bend it right into place. This leaves a few pieces left. Some of these we'll get to in a moment, just to show you where you should be at on your remaining pieces. And this is our next piece. So 2, 4, 5 pieces plus what we're about to do. If you have more than that, go ahead and back up and make sure that you did all the steps correctly. This part can get a little tricky. This is what's known as the hammer strut. Alright? If you did what I did initially and put this in the wrong place, it's not going to do its job right. It goes into this hole back here on the back strap. And it goes in like this. And just pressure fits right here. Now if you just push it straight up and in, you'll be able to seat this with your thumbs. That is a clear indicator that something's wrong, because you can't do this with your thumbs. And when you actually go to actuate the hammer or the release, there's no tension there. It's because you put it in the wrong place. So when we go into this hole, we don't want to go straight up and in. We want to bring it back. We want it to possibly hook about there. And it's kind of a feel thing. But you want it to go as far back as you can get it. And then to tell that you're getting it right, I can no longer seat this very well with my thumbs. I'm going to need some mechanical advantage here. So I just take my stubby flathead and I just push it in place. And you need to make sure that both sides end up seated, because right now you can see mine's crooked. There we go. So that's wrong. We'll just try and flatten that out. Still a little off. There we go. See how that's seated in nice and tight? That's going to fit your hand right too. If you have it sitting out, when you go to put your grip back in place, it's not going to let you. The holes won't line up because that strut bar is kind of pushing everything in the wrong place. So now we have that nice spring action. Be careful not to pinch your hand here. And that is what we want. The next step is what's called the locking insert. And be aware this also has a spring. It does come out. I go ahead and leave my spring in just so I don't lose anything. But if yours came out, that's fine. Just sits right back in there. And this goes right here. Now the trick with this step is, one, like we said before, you want that flathead screwdriver head to be on the fire control side. The other thing is, there's actually little grooves, if you noticed before we put it in there, on that bar. And this flathead slot is actually a nice way to know where those grooves are. I'm just going to look at mine. So we want this flathead to be going flat across the frame like this. It can't be crooked, can't be up and down. It needs to be going right in line with the slide. The other trick here is, and let's see if I get this right the first time, the slots that I was talking about should not be visible. They're actually on this bottom side now. And the reason that that matters is you have this groove here that you need to slide onto, and if you get the slots wrong, then this won't slide on. So let's see if I can get it first try. Make sure all your extra stuff in here is off to the sides. See, I started losing that nice straight line. It's going crooked. Straighten that back out. Give this another shot. There. Ah, nice. That just slides right in there. And it's held in place by this lever. And you just twist it. And it'll kind of press through past that spring. Locks in place. And there you have that. That's it. That's the last of our parts inside of the frame. All that's left is to put the grips back on and screw them down, and then replace the slide. There it is. Fully reassembled Sig Sauer P6. And a couple function checks for you. You want to double check your hammer. It's going to pull back on your trigger as well. So you want to see both of those actions happening. Then you want to check your hammer release. Make sure it's releasing. And finally, double check it's clear. Do a couple function check shots. Looks like everything's back together. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. We're back up and running. We got a fully functional, fully assembled pistol. And I hope some of these tips and tricks that I've shared with you along the way serve to be helpful. These are just some things I've picked up on while I've been working on my pistol. And if you happen to know of any tips or tricks, feel free to throw them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. I'm sure the community would too. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and the whole series for that matter. And we'll look forward to doing some more in the future. Take care, be safe, catch you next time.